Fire. All right.
Now I can direct it.
Now here we go. Take number 1. Boom. Out here with some new ideas that we're thinking about doing. Just trying to get some more content out there for you guys. Behind the cameras, Anthony Picardo. On the seat, I got Cameron Larson to talk about how last season went, how he got some of his training in for the off season, and how he's prepared to come in this season, and just some of his goals. And yeah, just kind of get to know about how hard he works and that it's starting to pay off. And let's hear what his goals are for this season. So last year you ended off with your first win, and you also got a couple podiums. I mean, the momentum was rolling tough in the Grands. A lot of people were stoked for you, and they knew you were rolling fast. But how did you feel about your season and rolling into Grands, just knowing that you've really been out there pulling and you were ready for it?
Yeah, honestly, like last year was a huge step in the right direction for me. I've had a few seasons with not a really good off season, so it's been a lot of jump back and forth, catch up, get a little bit faster, crash, get a little bit faster, injury, just a whole bunch of different things. So coming into the season, I was healthy for the first time, which was really nice. But you obviously can be healthy and be prepared, but you also mentally have to be there. So at the beginning of the season, it kind of honestly started rough. I got motoed in Phoenix, which was the first pro race of the year, and I had no ride. And so actually after the Phoenix race, I got a call from Haro Bicycles, and that kind of put a little bit of belief in myself that maybe I didn't have at the beginning of the season. Like I said, I had a decent off season, but I had no sponsors. I felt like I deserved maybe a ride, but no one was calling me. And so yeah, they called me, and I got a ride midway through the season. I just continued to train with Ariel Martin. I have now for about 4 to 5 years, and honestly, just keep riding and keep training, and being healthy was the biggest thing. I knew I always had the speed. I've always been looked at as someone with super quick twitch and good gaits and all of that, but I really just needed to kind of make some things happen around the track, and so I did that for a little bit of the year. Going on my first win in Utah, we had a good 7-week block I actually had with Anthony and a couple of Team USA's Olympians. It was more so structured for the Olympic athletes, but we were out there being able to do full laps and train as best as we could for a good 7 weeks. And so honestly, that Utah race was a really big thing for me, just because in 2019 I crashed and suffered a wrist reconstruction. I thought I was going to quit, and I didn't know if I was going to continue racing. So to get a win there was really nice, and I think that kind of set the tempo for me, because I knew that I could actually get it done. I've won everything. Just this year was a crazy type of thing. I got my first podium in May, and then podiumed at almost every race from May until the Grands, actually, except for Houston. And so I knew I could do it, but there's something different about being able to win in semis and motos and then actually doing it in the main. With that being said, I knew some of the big hitters weren't there because it was the Olympic season, so I really wanted to push hard and try to do well.
So yeah, that sounds pretty solid, and getting to know more about your season and how everything has come together, because like you said, a lot of people knew you had the speed, a lot of people knew you had what it takes, and just to be able to finally put that together, I'm sure it's a really good feeling. But yeah, we've been talking about the USA BMX series, so let's talk about Worlds and how you felt about Worlds, and just let them know how you did, and yeah, just the way you want to do next year, and just how everything goes.
Yeah, Worlds was good. It was actually a couple weeks after that Utah race, like I mentioned a little earlier. Anthony and I had a pretty good prep for that. Coming in, I felt good, but at the same time, the Worlds is such a different atmosphere, such a different world, kind of being in Europe and racing. The older guys will get it once they get there. It's kind of something you can't really explain, but I wasn't super satisfied with my results, but I did make a good step in the right direction. I ended up getting 6th in the semi, which is nothing to be happy about, but being 12th at the current time amongst those guys, where I felt like in the top 20 to 30 pros, anything can kind of go down. So that was a decent thing for me. And then I just kind of tried to keep that momentum going into the Grands. I moved to Florida in September, which was a big change for me. I lived in California my entire life, and I felt like I needed a little bit of a change in my program. Sometimes people think they need change, they want to change their coach or change their company or whatever. I felt like I just needed a change of scenery. So so I decided to go all in September. And I truthfully think that that's just a little bit of what kind of put me over the top for the Grands performance. I don't think that it was necessarily anything crazy, like I mentioned. I think everybody's fast in the elite men class. You know, when you go to the quarters and the semis, you know, there's people that have won races that go out in the semis. You know, there's people that have, you know, didn't even get to make it out of motos or quarters or anything, and that have won and beat me before. And that's a big thing that I've learned as I've gotten a little bit better, is that you can beat people just as easily as they can beat you, and it's your job to, you know, be able to deal with that and be flexible. So I just think the Grands was a good experience for me. Like I said, I decided to go kind of all in September, and, you know, I kind of planned this off season and this whole next year kind of the same way, just with the USA BMX stuff, and I want to try to get a little bit better of a rank. I ended up getting 3rd place overall last year, and yeah, I just have some big goals that I want to tick off USA BMX wise and internationally. So, you know, I'm just hoping to push and continue this momentum into this weekend and beyond.
Sweet, that's nice to hear. That's a lot of information that a lot of people probably haven't heard about from you, and just it's nice to be able to get some more feedback from the actual rider and not just from their Instagram and stuff like that. So I think it's pretty dope that we're able to do this. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So yeah, as you said, the move to Florida and the way you've rolled into Grands, you've always had some of the fastest times. You've always had some of the quickest, like you said, twitches, the gates, everything, first straights, and you've also been able to hole shot and kind of struggle through the track a bit. But I think when you moved to Florida, I think that kind of lit that fire that you needed to get all that stuff dialed in. And some of the laps that you put down in Tulsa were, I think, some of the best full laps that you've been able to put down, and just let people know about how that kind of transition went to where you've always been, like you said, you've had the speed, you've had the twitch, you've had the times, you've had this, but to finally put those all together and just kind of relax and understand that there's just a few things that you were missing, and now, I mean, you've kind of put those pieces on the puzzle, and I mean, it's honestly, like, it's cool to see, because like you said, you've known you always had it, and now it's just kind of becoming a normal thing to be out front or be in the mix, and just that motivation that you were able to keep to get there from where you were is like someone that you would see at the track that would want to ask you that, like, what's the motivation that kept you from wanting to quit when you had the injury, and just kind of making everything turn around and become the complete package of a BMX racer?
Yeah, honestly, the part about, you know, overcoming and trying to keep going is kind of just something that I think all athletes have in them. You know, I think it takes certain things to bring those out in them. I'll say, like, with the track riding stuff, it's kind of the same sequence, kind of same scenario as someone that's wanting to get better at their sprinting, right? You know, if you want to get better at your sprinting, you got to do a lot of sprints. Well, you know, just honestly, the American way is get a good gate, get a good first straight, and then nothing else is taught after that, right? And that's kind of how I got brought up. I wouldn't say that I didn't work on track stuff and track skills, you know, growing up, but I definitely found that, you know, I would get a little bit faster, and this happened a lot in my rookie pro years. I would get these hole shots, and then I'd get past, and I'd get past, and I'd get past. And so a little bit of that motivation came from myself, but then honestly, another part of the motivation was just outsiders, right? You know, you have people that are confident that, oh, it doesn't matter if, you know, I get out front early because they're going to pass me, or, hey, I know Cameron doesn't get this right, so I'm going to try to pass him. And so, like, I think intuitively, like, I take that as motivation myself, because, you know, I didn't understand that. And I think as you get older, you kind of have to be more honest with yourself and kind of just, you know, figure out what's going to work for you. But I would just say that the motivation just comes from, you know, the struggles that I had growing up. You know, Anthony's had the same type of things. You know, I've had a lot of instances where I've never been the guy to beat in my class. I've had NAG 7 plates. I was NAG 19. And so all of those things have, you know, kind of added up and made me into the rider I am today.
Got it. Ooh, that was perfect. That brings me into my next question, actually. So, like you were saying, in the amateur ranks, being able to be like NAG 19, NAG number 7, and never really being in that position to win a title or get those accolades that some people have, I think that helps carry over into the pro career, because some of those accolades, like an amateur title or a NAG 1 or even a world championship, is the same way as you want to do it as a pro. So I think for us, I think it was good to where we never won that. I mean, it's not the best, like it sucks, but that kind of carries over into the pro career to where you want to achieve those goals still, and you're a lot more hungrier than someone that has won a title and kind of just accepted that and kind of just fell off in our sport, or kind of just went their separate ways into doing something with their life, or just kind of just not on the bike.
Yeah, and then honestly, I think the hardest part and the best part with that of not winning is a big step in your progression, and just overall your personality is learning how to lose. I think that a lot of those kids that are those, top amateur guys, I mean, I'm even friends with a lot of them still to this day, and I was just amazed how much I'd get my butt kicked. But the real thing is, like, until you've trained what you feel like is your hardest and lose, and can accept it and go, okay, that wasn't enough, I have to keep going, I think that's when you do the best damage on, rebuilding yourself and getting better. Like, people often are always like, oh man, you're so lucky, I wish I was you, I wish this, or I see the factory dad getting really mad at his son for getting third place, and it's like, hey man, like, I was never that guy, and I feel bad if I didn't tell you guys, like, hey, like, I failed more times than I've won. And I know that that's a very cliche thing to say, but especially in BMX, everybody's training, everybody's working hard. At the end of the day, there can only be one guy that's NAG 1. At the end of the day, there can only be one winner, and if you aren't the winner, unfortunately, no one really cares. And so I think that was a big thing. And yeah, I would agree that, that kind of brings you into the pro ranks a little more hungry, because I haven't felt, a Grands win. Like, the Grands podium was my best result at Grands ever, and it's an elite min, you know what I mean? So I just think that it's a blessing in disguise growing up. You always want that. I always wanted to be that guy to win, and I never understood why I couldn't be that guy, because I felt like I tried really hard. But at the end of the day, whoever works the hardest and believes the most and just never gives up is gonna get there. And so I honestly think that that's the biggest advice that I could give. And I would say that you don't have to be the best amateur to get to where you want to be, future pro ranks or Olympic stuff, anything.
So as you were saying before, how you got the call from Haro, you got picked up, and what's cool is you rode for them when you were a lot younger and kind of just fell through, and it wasn't the way you wanted to. And like you said, you wanted to be on Haro, and it kind of just went in a different way. But to be able to get that call and be able to join the squad that you thought you were going to be a part of for a while is something that's really cool. And just how did it feel when you kind of got that offer and just kind of everything came back in a full circle as everything was paying off at the same time?
Yeah, honestly, it was a big sigh of relief, right? Like I said, for a while, I was even beating some guys that had rides. I felt, I wouldn't say entitled, but I felt like I deserved something, and it just wasn't really happening. And at that point, you have two decisions. You can keep going and fighting for what you believe in, or you can, sit on the couch and cry about it. So it felt really good when they approached me, because like you had mentioned, like, I rode for the team and rode for the brand, or a team that was sponsored by the brand, a couple years ago, and I really, really liked the bike. I really liked the people. John and Joey are really cool. And so it kind of just, it made me feel really good about myself, because like I said, I was in a spot where I wasn't getting the results that I felt I worked for. Not a lot of people were, looking at me, and they still said, what, like, I see something in you still, even when others don't. And I was super happy to at least repay them a little bit this year, and get on the podium and show out for them.
So as a professional athlete, a lot of people say you got to eat healthy, you got to do what you got to do, and I mean, you kind of have to do everything. And there's a certain point where we are going to have to do that, because we are shooting for Olympic goals, we are shooting for world championships, we are shooting for titles that we want to win. And let somebody know what it's like when you wake up in the morning, how your day goes, and just the kind of schedule that you live by for, BMX racing.
Yeah, so basically, like, this is probably for most racers, but especially me, I typically train 6 times a week. I train sometimes 2 days a week in there, and there's no secret, it's gym, track, and the sprints. So every single day I just try to look at it as a different day and another way to get better. I think that what I've learned the last couple of years in pro especially, being around other athletes, being around other Olympic athletes, being around competition, everybody relatively trains the same. So I just think it's important to find something that works for you. And as long as you believe in it, I think that over time it'll all pay off. And as far the eating goes, all that stuff, I think everybody could always be better. I'm even currently working on nutritionists and nutrition goals and plans and stuff. But at the end of the day, I think a little bit of it needs to be a little bit simplified. I don't think that what people think is a huge transition to training. I think I'm just talking in circles.
So we've seen in a previous YouTube video that you like to eat salad with hot Cheetos. Let us know the get down for that, because that, I don't eat salad, but if you throw some hot Cheetos on, I might grab that. But what made you randomly put Cheetos on top of a salad?
So the get down is, I like eating salad. I like croutons, but that stuff just gets boring. I really like hot Cheetos, but I can't just fathom sitting on my bed and eating hot Cheetos. Not only will my coach be mad at me, but it's just super unhealthy. So one day I was just craving hot Cheetos and I knew I needed to eat the salad. So I just threw them together, and it was actually like probably the top 5 things I've ever eaten in my life. And so now I just kind of live by it. Kind of gives me my little junk food fix, if you will. It replaces the croutons, which is pretty much the same thing, and it's nice.
So as you previously said, you are working with Ariel Martin, and she's someone that has done a lot in our sport. She's been at the top, she's been at the bottom, she's been where, I mean, a lot of us would want to be. And how does that carry over to like the coaching and the way that you guys work together? Obviously it's different when somebody knows what it's like and how it really is when you're behind the gate or in the moment and 5th in a semi and you got to make a pass for 4th. Like, how is it being able to trust her when you know that she's done it, and just kind of trust the process rather than thinking something's just supposed to happen?
Wait for this or no?
One sec, plane in the air. My microphone was dead, so couldn't use that. Quick intermission. Boop.
All right, picking a coach for me was really important in that aspect. I felt like I wanted someone that I could trust, and obviously someone that's done it before. It's a little easier to listen to someone that way. Ariel's done a lot in her sport, or in our sport. But I think the biggest thing that stands out to me is just her intuition and her passion for the sport. I think oftentimes, like I said previously too, like people like to over-analyze and over-exaggerate the training. I think at the end of the day, everybody's doing very, very similar things. But for me, she has the intuition and, like I said, and just the passion for, continuously trying to get me better, or, take the next level, or find this little crease and crevice that she can, get onto. And that's what I think a lot of it also comes down to, a little bit of loyalty and just, I've been with her for 4 years now, so we kind of know how each other work. I kind of know what works for me. She knows what works for her. Also the headbutting, we've had a couple of instances where maybe I've gone a little overborn or over emotional, and she knows how to bring me down, and that's kind of a thing that I looked for when I picked a coach. Obviously there's other coaches out there, and there's other people that obviously still do well, but at the top level, everybody's got different coaches, and it's been a blast working with Ariel, and I plan to for the rest of my career, honestly.
So yeah, we've pretty much covered the season of last year, how you're rolling into this season, the way you've trained, the way you do train, the ups and downs of our sport, and just kind of how everything has come together, sponsor-wise, riding-wise, and obviously results-wise. Is there anything that you want to, let anybody else know, or say anything, as I'm not a crazy good interviewer? I asked, stuff that I thought off the top of my head, and I think that this is kind of where we finally just got up and did this, and I plan on being able to do this more, maybe every race, and just kind of keeping in touch with the realness of our sport rather than posting on the gram and just kind of like
Shuffling it out.
back out.
Back out?
No, back up. There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, I guess I could just add on to that and closing this out, just get out of your comfort zone. Whether it's riding, whether it's content, whether it's school, girls, who knows? Just get out of your comfort zone. Like, this isn't comfortable for me, this isn't comfortable for him, but we're trying. And yeah, I just want to know that we will be trying to do our best to come out with videos for every single national. This might be a little one-off, but we are going to be doing an Okehili video. We're going to be documenting it. We're going to be interviewing it. We're sad, we're mad, we're happy, anything. And yeah, I guess that's it. And I'm going to turn it to you.
One last question as we are rolling into a race weekend. No, that's pretty much it. Like I said, it's the first of many. We're going to bring you on board like we've tried to before, but I think we are really into it as it's the beginning of the year, so we'll be able to start from the top. Wrapping up the interview we just did right now with Cam Larson, Haro Bikes, Fly Racing, E6, and yeah, if you're looking to sponsor this guy or you're looking to sponsor somebody, this is definitely someone you want to look into. And other than that,
plug doesn't even get 10% yet.
and yeah, let's keep it rolling for this season, and yeah, let's have a good first day of racing tomorrow and just go out there and do what we got to do.